Okay, all right. Welcome to the City of Coos Bay Parks Commission meeting for March 20th, 25. We will call to order. We'll start with roll call at the end.
Patrick Bringardner,
Ariane Lyons,
Jamie Faraday,
Kurt Benward.
Yeah, Harv Shabothi.
Greg Hamblett.
Christina Teixeira.
And Amy Edmond, City of Coos Bay.
thank you so much. We will start out. I don't see a sheet for public comment because I think everybody. Maybe. I know. We have a guest, at least. Thank you so much. All right. Tristan, would you like to step up to the podium?
My name is Tristan Reeser. I reside in Coos Bay. It's been a while since I've had to address anything to the Parks Commission. It's come to my attention that the Coos Bay Skate Park's been vandalized yet again. Currently closed until further notice. I drove by there. I took a look at it. The fence that was removed between the tennis courts and the skate park itself, last time when I was down there doing the repairs, 2021, that fence was loose back then. Some of the cross supports that are claimed to be vandalized were actually already broke. It's unfortunate that somebody took it upon themselves without proper channels to take that down. During the process of making the repairs to the park, I actually started a nonprofit to try to raise funds to help the city make repairs down there. Unfortunately, I had a major health event and I had to take a big step back from all of it. Without me spearheading that nonprofit, it is in a non-compliance at the time. It's think of the right word for it. It's inactive. It could be resurrected. I've put a lot of effort into that place and didn't really have a lot of backing for that nonprofit, unfortunately. I'm coming to you guys today to try to figure out a way to move forward and get the park open again. I'm willing to volunteer again. The estimates that I seen was $15,000 to $20,000 for repairs. I know with cities, it's a little more expensive than if you did it privately. Even to put the fence back up, I don't see that. It would probably take me and some of my coworkers. I'm working construction currently, which I talked with my boss and he'd actually donate the crew for a day. It'd probably take us a day, maybe two, to put it back up. I would like to see the fence stay down. One of the agendas for the nonprofit, the next step that I was going to take was to approach the city and see if we could remove that fence and expand into the tennis courts. While I was doing the repairs and while I was trying to raise the money to get the repairs started, I took note of usage. There was between 30 to 50 unique users to the skate park per day. There was 4 per week for the tennis courts. It would save the city a lot of money just to leave the fence down and make it safe, take out the rest of the posts and make everything smooth and not have any hazards from it. The perimeter fence itself, I don't see that taking more than a few hours to repair. So I'd like to try to get you guys to put it on the agenda for next meeting because I know it's way too soon to get it today, which then it would take another month after that. I'd like to see the park open in another 2.5 months, maybe. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me?
is there a user group that you could call on as well for volunteer work?
I took a step back from skateboarding itself. I had a triple heart attack, less than 1% chance of survival. I'm completely good now. I'm 100% recovered. I'm back to work. So,
But besides yourself,
there are people that volunteered last time that I can reach out to and I could start trying to make contacts, and I'm sure some of them would step forward. I guarantee it.
Great. And you're talking about the perimeter fence is between the skate park and the.
So there's a fence that separates the tennis courts and the skate park that was removed and rolled up it was left there.
Mhm.
I guess they cut the tennis court cable for the net too.
Greg, will you provide us kind of?
Yeah, so,
what's-
last week, staff was alerted, I think it was on the 12th. The evening of the 12th, we're assuming in the evening of the 12th, because the 13th is when we discovered it. That the mesh and the top,
Chain link.
top bar along the support of the chain link fence was removed from the barrier between the skateboard park and the tennis court. They were removed. The center support across the fence was still intact. And so they removed the fence all along. They rolled the fence up nicely and put it up along the eastern side of the tennis courts. And then further damage was done to the perimeter fence on the east side of the skateboard park itself. So that fence is damaged as well. And then the back fence of the tennis courts on the east side was also cut or damaged at some point in time. I don't know if it was associated with that act. I'm not sure. But right now the park is closed because we have a metal bar that runs right around head height. We have the support bars, beams or posts for the fence there as well. The tennis cable net was cut. And so for that reason, we closed the tennis court, we closed the skate park because it's just unsafe having that bar at head level. You know, and just having those barriers there versus having a fence that's can maybe distribute some of that falling into weight versus running into a post. And so right now it is closed. We are looking at estimates. Our initial estimate was anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000. We have received 2 cost estimates so far. One was $7,000 to replace just the 120 feet of mesh, not doing the repair work on the perimeter fence. And so we're just waiting to get those numbers. And I think as soon as we get those, our intentions were to make those repairs until we heard the public comments at council. I think you were here on council on
That was,
Tuesday.
yeah.
And so I was going to actually bring that to the commission, but Tristan was here to talk about it. So it's actually in my notes to talk about later on, but
It seemed like the council was open to possibly leaving the fence down.
yeah, and once again, we work at the will of council and at the recommendation of the Parks Commission. I think, for staff, for us, it's more right now, currently in its current shape. It definitely is a safety concern for staff in its current disposition. So I'm not sure where the commission would like to go. I'm not sure where council would like to go. But I was going to suggest that perhaps if we'd like, maybe discuss it at a future as a future agenda item to have a more conversation on this, but.
If the crossbar is the only cause for concern,
We also do have the posts. There's 10 foot,
Yeah.
every 10 feet, we have a post that's there.
is there a stopgap recommendation to make those safe? Remove the crossbar, pad the uprights?
I can remove the uprights. That's,
Not at this point in time, and Tristan, we can remove those, but going in there, once we cut those posts down, it's down. Right now, the posts are they're in solid footing, they're solid. And the posts need to be repaired. They don't need to come down. If we take them down, it's just gonna add additional cost if the decision is to keep the fence up. So,
I was saying I can take it down if the decision was to remove them.
yeah,
It
Well,
wouldn't,
yeah,
it's in my ballpark.
Yeah.
so,
So I would like to have on the agenda for next month, the discussion on whether or not the fence should stay or go. And in a list of any of the repairs and if possible bids to get the skate park open. So if we need to, we can take action on the item next month.
Are you talking work session? Or are you talking regular meeting?
Can we have the information presented at the work session? We can't actually vote at a work session on stuff. That's my
If we had the information, we could at least would be able at the next meeting and probably make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, an informed decision. So, and I think it is a safety issue. It's not, I think what happens is without the fence there, those crossbars and posts aren't as visible. You know, if you see the fence and you kind of know something's there, but it's just them standing there. So it's unfortunate that it had to be closed, but I think it was the right decision. So.
I support the closure in the condition that it's in. I just want to try to get it open again. So
Okay.
however that needs to happen,
Okay. And
if
then,
I can help, let me know.
okay, and Tristan, do you and Greg want to get together and list any of the other potential repairs that might need to be done this summer to keep the park in shape so we don't have closure again? I'm just thinking so that we can take action on those items at once, so we don't have to have a closure again or anything like that.
So in regards to a fence repair, that can be an insurance claim.
Okay.
So we could have those costs covered by an insurance claim.
Okay,
Any other damage that may be associated with the skate park may be required to come out of Parks Capital. But just keep that in mind.
Mhm.
Also, what I also want to advise is that if we decide that we want to put the fence back in, you know, I just understand it, it delays the repairs, if we decide we're going to do that. So I'd be happy to bring the information at the May or the April 3rd work session.
Mhm.
So in preparation for the April 17th Parks Commission.
Okay.
And then I can present the costs associated with the repairs. And then I can also look at the costs associated with removing that fence. Another thing to consider is also going to be, like Tristan alluded to, was tennis court usership. I think you said maybe 4 people per week, but that is a community that does use it. And I don't know what that community may have to say about closing the tennis court down as well.
There's
Mhm.
So.
also ones on the backside of Mings Park.
Correct.
Yeah,
And I haven't seen any maintenance done on those tennis courts in well over a decade. So
And if the skate park was gonna be expanded, is that, would you propose it just being kind of open, or would you propose having more features built?
half the tennis courts was an old half the skate park was an old tennis court when we built that skate park. I was part of the crew that built it. I was part of the group that raised the money. I've been very involved in that small piece of park. I actually resurfaced the old tennis court. The part of the skate park that was the old tennis court, I resurfaced it in 2021 when I did the repairs down there. It was an extra, I don't know, 60 hours or something, but it needed to be done. So skating, there's a lot of different aspects to it. There's the big bowls that are there out of concrete, and then there's flat ground. It's different areas of the same sport. Some people like the big bowls, some people just want to roll around on flat ground. So expanding the footprint of the park would just be, if I had the nonprofit up and going, was raising funds for it, it would be, you know, step 1, and then you would do a phase and build something new on the other expanded footprint. But just having the expanded flat ground is great for beginners. So.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're doing better.
Yep.
Yeah.
thank you.
And Tristan, thank you for all your efforts over there on the skateboard park. A couple of years ago, you did all that work down there. It was amazing. Thank you.
I think it was like 550 hours or something.
It was a lot. I think
Amazing.
council gave you a plaque.
I didn't.
They did?
It's hanging on my wall.
So just so I make sure that I have the topic for the April 3rd work session in the skateboard park. Tennis court fence discussion for repairs and demo.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yep. That way we can take action instead of meeting and then meeting and meeting. Which we do.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, we are going to roll on down. So Cricket, you're under public comment, but you're also an action item. So, because you're always in action, doing things. So you're on Marshfield Cemetery.
So Cricket Souls, and I live outside of Coos Bay, but nearby. and reporting on the Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery. So a lot has happening. I had a meeting with Greg to figure out how we can make sure we don't lose any kind of information that we should have. So he pulled out lots of records. I borrowed some and brought them back today so we can do that. And it's really important to make sure we kind of have that small archive of something. So next thing is you're passing along some of the posts for the Facebook. I'm not very good at Facebook, but we're looking at old newspaper photographs and things that show vandalism. We thought it was bad when in 2007, an 8th grader from Sunset knocked over 80 headstones. It turned out in the 80s, they actually knocked over 300. And the way the city found it is there was a headstone laying in the street. So, and that included the big angel that's up there. She still has a broken nose, but that was a result of that. And when they put her back in place, she was backwards. So using some of those pictures, people remember. And we're using that in part to get some match money for upcoming grants. So grants will be more competitive this year because some will be going away. But the two that we look at applying for are funded by lottery dollars. So those are still there. So my daughter Becky has shared things with Christina. So because that was Chelsea Schnabels has always done our grants, and I don't know who will continue to do them, but we thought it was important that Christina at least knows what's kind of going on. And I think you're good with that, right?
Yes, I will add the cemetery grants to my updates.
So they're all, in pending. They're due come April and May, the one for historic cemeteries and the other one for preserving Oregon, again, historic properties. And we always try to stress that we can't use it for the homeless or other kinds of things. They're strictly preservation grants. And so the cemetery certain qualifies. We're also stressing, that little tag there with the QR code on the back. So this is round 4 of we had the original assessments of about 350 headstones that were in great need, broke it down into 4 categories. So we have the funding for round 3, which will begin if it ever stops raining. But we always need match money. Plus we need the engagement from people. And I think those are 2 things that will help in trying to compete for these grants. And it is the engagement. I look at even just how many people have gone to the Google website and how many more calls we get and people asking about things. So it's 4 for 4. So we're encouraging alumni to just give $4. So those little things, they're trickling in. And I'm hoping one thing that will be considered and might also help the skate park is that overall Friends of the Coos Bay City Parks. So we're working on that stuff. And if you know any alumni and you need some more of those little tags to slip under things, let me know. We'll have some others because our visitation is really large during Memorial Day. So these will be on a little stick by the headstones. So one is from all the ones that have been vandalized sometime or another and then repaired. And then this one is for the ones that we hope to repair. So back a while ago, they raised $200 and some odd for it. This is like 40 years ago. That didn't sound like much money, but when we calculated the inflation, that was about $2,000. So, that's sort of what we're aiming for to come up with for both our match money. So, so there's our grants that are going on. One thing that I wonder, we do have an upcoming workday with OBAB and Solve. We're going to partner with them because they're partnering with the Oregon Historic Cemeteries. So we're doing that together. And this is sort of, OBAB is great. They come in and do a lot of things and I really appreciate it. And I pulled Ivy for about an hour at their last one, and Jamie's project, he's got that underway. But I do notice that sometimes it's not clear what should be done, and it's not their fault. It seems like maybe the parks, whether that's you or Dave, needs to give really good guidelines. When Jamie's there, he's telling people what to do, and that's what they need. When I'm at the cemetery, do not cut the holly. You know, we're working on treating the holly, and that seems counterintuitive to most people. But when you cut holly, it comes back as a huge bush. And when you want to treat it very carefully, where you're not putting, herbicides everywhere in the whole world, when you want to very specifically treat that, you have to treat every stem. So very labor intensive when you have this bush and not as effective. So when I was working with one of them at John Toppett's, they were cutting them out of the trees, but just leaving the ivy. Well, those are perfect grounds for all those little ivy things to shoot, those little shoots to root and grow. And the project at Airport Heights the month before was to take out broom, which broom has a taproot. So it does pull pretty well with the weed puller type things that they're using. But the city of North Bend also had a $16,000 grant to eradicate that broom. And when I asked, should we be doing this? Because all we're doing is sort of it's good if that's a good way to do it, but we're also stirring up a lot of seeds that they'll probably get even more. So not having some direction as to what people should be doing in each park, I see as a little bit of a, everyone's good natured, good intended, but I think you might still need some direction. And I don't know if Jamie has anything to say on that based on coming.
Yeah, it's something that should be part of OBAB's, and they'll get to it eventually. But yeah, that's a good point. They should have a manual for how to treat certain things. Don't touch the holly unless you have the right tools and substance, or don't just cut the ivy. So cut it when it's going up a tree, but make sure you pull the roots out as much as possible.
Take what
So
you
yeah,
can,
I mean,
yeah.
that training could happen, and I think they'll get there. We just need to keep. It's the same with any organization.
Sure.
You have to give instruction and keep giving it, because you get new people every time.
And that's the thing, maybe the city needs to just come up with some basic guidelines so that and it might be different in different parks. And, maybe in another park, they want to cut the holly, but in the cemetery, we do not want to cut the holly. And it's really hard to make people not, they seem like they're being helpful. So that's just something I've noticed in working on those things. But we're, it's still a good thing. I've also talked with the Coast Guard chief, and as long as we can identify a project as somehow relating to the Coast Guard, so we have life-saving service people buried there, that works. We've had other work done. So we potentially can get the chiefs back again to do some major work, like they need to repaint the cannonballs and they painted them before for us. And so hopefully maybe they can come back on that. So I still need to work out some things for the May cleanup. We'd like to at least tackle part of 7th Street. We can't do it all, but see what we can do. And so Greg and I need to kind of talk that one over and see what we can do. The Everlasting Huckleberry has outgrown the Katoni Easter. So that's good. We're making some headway. It's not ever going to be perfect. We have a lot to do on that. And then 2 things that are kind of separate from that. After 2 years and lots of letters and lots of things, we will be getting a moon tree. And I haven't even done Jamie's sign yet, but we'll have another moon tree that will be up on campus that you can see from the street. And we will have a sign in the Pirate parking lot for that. And perhaps the city also wants to coordinate a little bit with that, at least to give information. We'll do this during maybe on Earth Day, which is April 22nd, but certainly that week at school. So we'll kind of see what we can do, because as you're moving forward with your Arbor Day things. And I think the last thing is sort of ask a question, and now I've answered it. That it's a little off topic for this, but we have to make our own All-Star Heritage sign. So they don't provide one.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting
We don't get one
heritage.
from them.
That's
I
correct.
think initially they gave some, so we just need to
Yeah, I
get our
found out
own.
after last meeting.
Yeah,
I was gonna
so
tell you
just-
tonight.
just trying to follow up in case anyone's, in case where we're at. And then are there any questions or suggestions for better ways we can reach out and get that information out there?
Are you still planning on doing having the cemetery be open the same time as the garden tour and having it be?
As far as we know, that's looking like we would do that in August. First Saturday in August, it would be open and we'd have some invasive species information there. I haven't gotten any takers on kids at school. They're, they're seeing a tough road ahead of them and they're not very excited about volunteering for things, but we'd like to have a couple backpacks that could be checked out. One on invasive species and one on coal miners. And they're always excited when present the information. And I'm still waiting to get in contact. We are ready to build birdhouses, but I can't seem to get any contact with Joe. And maybe Jamie can help me with that. Because I have tried and tried and tried, and we're probably going to miss their breeding season again because he actually said that's between the 5th and 15th of March. But the construction class took initiative, went in and looked at those birdhouses and built ones out of alder. So there are some birdhouses waiting for something, but our plan was to build them out of cedar that was from the cedar trees there. So I could use help in that connection.
Are you going to be here after the meeting?
I will be.
Okay.
Sounds good. No.
Any commissioner questions or comments?
And just, again, I think, try to get kids engaged in things and Patrick might be, interested in this. One of the projects we hope to do, the students do, but we need to get them started in something, is do a shoe recycling thing, connected with whatever their Coast Running now is their new name kind of. So she's going to help with that. They actually have collection boxes and they go for shoes for good. So if there's shoes that they're intact, the uppers are intact and they don't look like my husband's shoes, we'll work on recycling them. The theme this year for Earth Day is actually renewable energy, but kids can't do a lot of that. So if we can do something that they all have shoes, that they can relate to, we're going to start on that and try and get that going along with some other recycling things, since we really can't do much on other than awareness of renewable energy. So it's really neat when we can work with local businesses and that to promote something that they're trying to promote anyway.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right. Action item B, parks update. Greg?
Actually, I'll let Christina go ahead and talk about the parks update for the new commission members as well as refreshers for the existing commission members.
So at the request of the commission at the March 6, 2025 Parks Work Session, the staff report provides an overview of the Coos Bay Parks recreational facilities and cultural sites. The city of Coos Bay's parks systems includes 194 acres across 14 open public spaces, including trails, boat ramps, playgrounds, historic sites, and cultural facilities. The city's 2033 Parks Recreational and Cultural Facilities Plan guides future investments, maintenance, and improvements on these sites. I have put together a little slideshow for you guys. Otherwise, how would you guys know what you were looking at or what I'm talking about? Next slide. This is a brief introduction to the Coos Bay's commitment to providing recreational spaces for residents and visitors. And so here on the map, you can see the different locations of the parks. They're spread out all throughout the city. Next slide. And this is Mingus Park. There's 55 acres. Its location is 725 North 10th Street. Amenities is ball field, disc golf course, skate park, tennis courts, playground, picnic areas, trails, Choshi Gardens, Mingus Pond, Mingus Park Pool, and the Mingus Park Community Building. The current active projects in the park are the rewilding project, waiting on weather to complete the project, restroom revitalization project, solar lighting for the lighthouse, drainage for playground areas, trail maintenance and cleaning. Next slide. And this is John Toppitz Parks, 113 acres, location 298, 284 Hall Street. Amenities is 5.5 miles of trails, picnic areas, playground, restrooms, kayak launch, and fishing. Current active projects are the dam road repair, trail marker replacement through the Adopt a Park program. Defensive space degrubbing with the community wildfire risk reduction, mid-lake bathroom interior painting, mid-lake bathroom door replacement. This is the Coos Bay Boardwalk and City Docks. It's 0.5 miles long along Front Street. Location is 200 Bayshore Drive. Amenities, view of Coos Bay, fish market, historic tugboat display, dock access. Current activities are replace handrail, install new interpretive signs, paint handrails, and new bulwark in the summer. Next one. This is the Empire Boat Dock. It's our boat ramp. It's 7 acres. Location is D Street and East Side Boat Ramp Road. It's a boat launch with fish cleaning station. Current activities are bathroom roof replacement, bathroom lighting upgrades.
You said the east side. We were talking about the picture is Empire.
Okay. Yeah. And this is the east side boat ramp. It's 2.8 acres.
Go back to. This is Empire.
Sorry, guys.
It's all right. We're just gonna do a quick overview of each slide. So we're kind of cycling through, we're getting right back to the Empire Boat Ramp. The Empire Boat Ramp is 2.8 acres. And it's located on Holland Avenue out in Empire. And this year, we're gonna reinstall the boat floats at the end of March, early first weekend of April, late March, and repair the bathroom wood rot. There, we've experienced it over several years, so just needs to be done up. But now we're back on board with Empire Boat Ramp here, so let Christina take it away back to East Side Boat Ramp now.
Well, no, we're on Empire.
I just got done talking about Empire. East Side Boat.
Next slide, please.
So we go to. You just said, do you want to talk about East Side or no?
So the East Side Boat Ramp is 7 acres located at D Street and East Side Boat Ramp Road. Current activities are bathroom replacement, roof replacement, bathroom lighting upgrades. This is the East Side Park. It's 0.9 acres between D Street and East Street off Fifth Avenue and East Side. Current projects, retaining wall repair, motor vehicle accident, merry-go-round replacement, motor vehicle accident. This here is Pirate Park. Its size is 0.72 acres. Location is 1010 South 10th Street. And we don't currently have any active projects in that park. This is Ed Lund Park. It's 0.8 acres, location 135 South Wall Street over in Empire. There's no current active projects there. This is Taylor Watson Park, 0.3 acres. Location intersection of Taylor Avenue and Watson Street. There is no current active projects there. This is Windy Hill Park. Its size is 0.63 acres. Location is intersection of 14th Avenue and F Street. So if you go to the Coach House and turn up that road, it's all the way at the top on the left. And this is tennis courts. It is deed restriction as to tennis courts only. This is the Mingus Park Community Building. Its size is 1,968 feet. It's a historic building, location at 840 West Park Roadway. Current active projects is the Mingus Park Community Building Foundation repair. We're doing a lot of work and a lot of focus around this building right now. Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery, size is 3.86. Location South 7th Street and Ingersoll Avenue. And Coco kind of spoke to what active projects are going on there. They kind of take that all on their own and have a project over there all the time. Next. This is the Pre-Way Pedway. The size is 8,712 square feet, location between Second Court and Broadway Avenue. There is no current active projects there. This is the Coos Bay Firefighters Memorial. Is the size of the memorial. The location is 495 Central Avenue. So if you walk out City Hall, it's directly across from us. No current active projects there. And then the city-owned cultural facilities are the Coos Bay Art Museum, Egyptian Theater, Marshfield Sun Printing Museum, Coos Bay Public Library. And that takes you on a stroll through our parks.
Is there a plan that's probably with Coos Watershed for the rewilding?
The Coos Watershed is part of the contract for the rewilding.
And do we have a copy of that plan? What it's actually going to look like after it's done?
We don't have a drawing of what it looks like, no. But we do have plans. We just don't have a schematic of what that's gonna look like.
Okay. And it's going to start up again sometime this spring?
As soon as we get some good weather.
Yeah, got that.
I don't know if spring is gonna work out for us because the spring is sprung. Literally.
And the East Side Boat Ramp, is it all repaired?
East Side Boat Ramp is complete, done,
Mhm.
and it's been functioning like probably I think we opened it back up in May, I think, April,
Mhm.
last year. I can't remember exactly.
So all the
when.
docks were reinstalled.
Yep,
that were
the
damaged.
piles were replaced, the floats were repaired and put back in the water and is functioning as designed.
Mhm. And big allocates to Greg for getting that done for salmon season last year. So
That's right. Yes.
Well done. And I recall that there was a jellyfish display in the pre-way.
Still there.
Is it still there?
It is.
Okay.
I apologize. My pictures were pre the jellyfish.
Thanks. Obviously, I haven't been down there lately.
Kurt?
Yeah, thanks. A couple of questions about this. What are we responsible for on the boardwalk? Is that really considered park? And does that include the docks?
It is an open space, yes. Does that include the floats?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Are there fees there?
There are mortgage fees.
Yeah, where do those mortgage fees go?
They go into the general fund.
Doesn't get, the reason I bring that up is we're talking about parking fees is a potential thing sometime in the future. And one of the things that we talked about was always a worry, will it get designated for the parks? And so that's a park. And there's fees for the dock. And so,
Well, hold on, I don't know, let me look into whether the docks themselves are part of the park
okay,
asset or not. I thought that they might have been, but
So
now that we talk about it a little bit more, I think the boardwalk is, I don't know if the docks themselves are part of the
I think the gangplanks are. I
gangway.
mean, we went through this years ago and it got deep in the weeds, no pun intended, but, so, but there is the relationship there between the moorage and the docks and then the park space and the access.
well, one of the needed improvements that we have for down there is increased dock space.
We had
mean-
some preliminary discussions about that
Yeah.
about 6 years ago.
I mean, but that's what we just went over right now, is that's one of the improvements that we're looking for. So, I mean, if it's our dock, great.
Mhm.
I'm all for improving the dock thing. I'm just questioning the fee thing because we're discussing fee things and so, it won't do us a lot of good to charge fees for things if they go into a general fund and it doesn't get budgeted back to us.
Right, and I think there is some rules around that because those docks were put in with ODF dollars. They're,
I'm not sure what.
State Marine Board.
yeah, there was grant funds that were provided. This is going way back into the way back. It's going back here, so it's a little cobwebby. There were funds that were provided for some or partial of the installation of those docks, which regulates some of the usage that we can and cannot do. And I think at that time designated where the moorage funds go. So not saying that it couldn't necessarily be changed, but I remember there's another regulatory entity that.
How about I find out and
Yeah. Do we charge fees for anything else at all right now? Do any of the boat ramps charge fees?
no,
Do any of the ball diamonds that use the diamonds, do they pay any kind of fee for using those?
no,
No, but they also are the ones that maintain them.
Okay,
they do maintain them.
yeah. I was just thinking from the standpoint that a lot of things that I noticed in this that we need improvements on are things that we obviously need improvements on. And I think Krika kind of mentioned it, the opportunities for grants for doing some of these things by themselves may have dried up, but there may be constituents that use a certain part of the park that might be a good group to go to and say, listen, are you willing to do fundraising for this? So ball field drainage is one of the things that's on there. To the people that use the ball fields, is there an organization? Would they be willing to take that on? Landscaping at the firefighters memorial, which is very nice. I bought a brick a long time ago when that first went in, but I bet you if there's landscaping needs, I bet you the firefighters would probably take on a fundraising project. I'm just thinking it would be nice if we went through the things where we need improvements that we've identified in the plan. That we take a look at them and say, hey, is there somebody out there that we might want to ask about whether or not they're interested in supporting doing that improvement? So. And and the same thing with the adopt-a park thing.
Mhm.
And then my very last question, of course, is about the poor old Windy Hill Park. When I got on this Parks Board, before I applied, I drove to all the parks and took a look at them, and that is a hard one to find. But you know, it's a tennis court. Tristan was talking about resurfacing tennis courts. I don't think anybody's used that one forever. And there's a building between the tennis court and the basketball court, and I know it's restricted. I saw that in there. I was just curious as to exactly what the terms of the restriction are, because it doesn't seem like it's used. It doesn't seem like we're ever going to put any money in it. So,
I'm pretty sure the restriction calls for at least one tennis court, size tennis court,
so forever.
forever,
So
ever.
what
With
city, what city council signed off on that?
Well, but it was really popular. I mean, if you look in the late 80s and early 90s, we saw a lot of that in our community. There's actually a good chunk of property that has been pending donation to the city, but the requirements is that it is for tennis court, and the city determined and the council at the time that we didn't need more tennis courts, nor did we have the maintenance to continue to do those. So there's a nice, beautiful chunk of property down the street that sits in an LLC that is not donated to the city because we are not accepting more tennis courts.
Okay.
So there are those deed restrictions. So we thought that there were some for the tennis courts so that it's above Mingus Park, but we went through all of the title documents for that. I am not a title expert. I will add that caveat. But we did not find deed restrictions for that particular one. But the one in Windy Hill, there is for sure.
What's the building in between the,
I think it's the pump station.
It's a water board's pump station.
okay, so it's actually their property and not ours? We just own
Just-
property on either side of it?
Yes, I
Yes.
believe so.
Yeah, I think we own the U.
I was hoping we could charge them rent, but okay. All right, thank you.
And does the tennis court, does it have to be used for tennis? Like it could be a tennis court, but it could be maybe.
I'm not an
something
attorney.
Built on the tennis court. So they can-
Well, hey, my suggestion for tennis courts in general, and hey, I play tennis. I don't anymore, but I used to play tennis a lot, is that nowadays, if you ever do resurface one, you ought to put in lines for a pickleball court at the same time. And I think it would get a lot more use if it did.
It is
I-
true.
Agreed. I know in both the Reed Sport and Bandon, that's exactly what they've done is convert those tennis courts to pickleball courts.
Yes, which will have the caveat that pickleball is incredibly loud. So then you have to make sure that there are hour restrictions because there's a lot of complaints about pickleball because of the amount of noise that it makes in neighborhood parks, particularly like Windy Hill. Not to be a downer today, but that's where I'm at. So in talks with the deed restrictions, one of the process that I was not involved with, but was adjacent to years ago is what they did is they found the heirs of the person that donated the property with the deed restriction and got them to remove the deed restriction. It is a very expensive and lengthy process. Any,
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. yeah, that was amazing.
Well put together.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that
you.
for anybody who joins the parks, they should get that and we can do like a little video. And then also any new council person should get that so that they know what some of our assets are, because that was really cool.
Nice.
Be nice to have that as a link
Mhm.
in the parks and the city website, just to, for anybody to look at.
We just wrote our new mission statement. Nice.
All right. Now I think we will go down to quarterly budget status. Very quickly, we have no money. Moving on to.
No argument there. At the, well, I'm not going to it, but you guys do have, the updated, FS10 report and then you have the, staff's tracking, spreadsheets as well as the budget for fiscal year 25, for the parks. 01306, which is the parks operation and maintenance. You have the budget for the streets, which is 02, which is also where the bike and ped capital improvement fund is at. And then you also have Fund 45, which is where the parks capital fund is located. So you have those three budgets, you have those three FS10 reports, and you have those three budget tracking for parks, which is a budget tracking that the city staff uses each month to discuss budget internally, of where we're at, where we're projected to go each month. So those are all in attachments there. So you have those. And then also, I also wanted to talk about upcoming fiscal year budget. We are at the beginning of budget conversations at the city. I say beginning, we've been working on it for past couple of weeks. And just kind of getting into the throes of it. Staff is kind of projecting out right now that we're going to see similar budgets that we have right now for all three of those budgets. The operation and maintenance for the parks, similar. Bike and ped, similar, and then parks, similar budget allowances for those three park revenue, or for those 3 park budgets. Right now, currently, we're anticipating having for the bicycle and ped, we're kind of estimating right now, we have $167,000 budgeted this fiscal year for bike and ped in Fund 02. $167,000. We're anticipating having a carryover with the understanding that we have about $7,000 budgeted for the 24 Spring Wheels project on Central. And then we also have the Oregon Community Pass grant that we've applied for. We haven't gotten notice, but we're budgeting, we're get those dollars potentially encumbered of about $60,000, $62,000 for that. So we got a potential expenditure out of that about, or carry over about $98,000 out of that line item, carrying over into the next fiscal year. Just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. The parks budget, parks capital improvement budget, we do have some dollars encumbered for upcoming projects, the restroom revitalization, the stabilization project for the Mingus Park, restroom or the community hall building. So we have about $170,000 encumbered for those projects as well out of the parks capital. As for the upcoming projects coming out of the parks capital. But one thing I want to emphasize is that for the parks or for the bike and ped, we get 1% of the state gas tax. It's about $12,000 going into that line item each year. And then on the parks capital, we really don't have a reliable income source for our parks capital. And so that's why we're going after grants, alternative funding sources, donations, because we just don't have that revenue source for our parks capital. So whenever we take dollars out, it takes a while to build those funds back up. So we're anticipating having similar budgets next year, but I just wanted to get that conversation started with you folks, because I think it's an important conversation to have. Let you guys know where we're at currently. We have about one more quarter left of this fiscal year. And hopefully we're wise with our monies and we're able to carry over some funds in 02 and in Fund 45. Fund 1, typically we don't get to see we don't get to see the carryover on that because it is a general fund. And so we get a allocation from the general fund. So any questions that I can try and stumble through answering?
Kurt?
I have just one, and it's, so if I look at the city of Coos Bay expenditures comparison to budget for the 9 months ending March 31st, 2025, and that's the expense sheet. Is there a corresponding income sheet?
Which document are you looking at? I was catch up with you.
Yeah, I don't.
Are you looking at the FS10 report?
Yeah, I'm not looking at the big budget ones that you see in the city budgets plan. I'm looking at the one that usually for the library, they get one just exactly like
If
this.
it's 01,
Huh?
is it 01?
It isn't a one.
I don't have that because it's a general fund. What the heck is going on here with my screen?
I just asked because there's, that was really good about documenting expenses and you guys have done great. But there isn't anything that documents what the income is. I know stuff is in a budget, but usually when something says it's budgeted, that doesn't necessarily correspond to the income.
That's
And so I see what our expenses are and where we are in relationship to the budget, but I really don't see anything where our income is, or that for that matter, where the income comes from directly. And it probably is general fund and gas tax and stuff, but it would be nice to see income as well, if that's possible.
Yeah, on the gas tax, which is on the second page of the document you're looking at, that does show the resource or the income coming in. The 01306, which is a general fund, which is the very first page, I don't have the resource for that fund in these documents today. But in the transportation fund, I do have the assets, the resources in there.
And what line in that income is the bike and ped?
It is come out of the gas tax, and that's gonna be so it's 1% of the gas tax. And then that just gets,
Yeah, I
That just gets-
I just look at the revenue side, so I see that's what comes in, but I guess the amount that's dedicated to income for the bike and ped isn't covered there.
that's just an allocation that they
Okay.
allocate into that line item.
Yes, Jennifer, you're just biting at the bit there to say something.
Okay, so you want to know where the money is for the
Well,
bike and
yeah.
ped? So if you go into actually the budget, so it's in that $4 million, that revenue sheet
Yeah.
that he showed you, but if you want to know exactly what was allocated, go into the document titled 3/12/25, oh, excuse me. FY 2025 budget for Parks Commission. And you'll go into that,
So if I have that one,
okay, and then go to
I
Fund
mean, no,
2.
I do I have that one?
Yes, it's the first attachment.
But up at the very top, the general budget statement like they do in the budget, when the budget committee approves budgets.
So it's the first attachment.
So you go back into your staff report.
This is getting too complicated. I should never ask this question.
We had an answer for you. So if you go back to the staff report and go into the first attachment,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm back at the staff report and I mean, I look at the one that says, okay, am I looking at a gas tax one or where am I going?
You look at
yes, it's
Yeah,
page 10 of your PDF.
okay. So I guess what the easiest way for me to ask this, is it the city of Coos Bay? Yeah, transportation fund, I see that, I'm there. Yeah, and that just doesn't give me a dollar amount. I don't think it does anyways, I think it just talks about,
Okay, see on,
what it's provided for, but it doesn't give me a dollar
see
amount.
on page 10 of the PDF, it's page 70 of the actual budget. If you go down underneath resources from other agencies, you're going to see a revenue called state gas tax, bike and ped. See that? See, it says 12,000.
Yeah, give me the actual budget document page number, because those are on the bottom, like 124, 125. Well, it's at the very bottom.
Sorry, guys, you guys are looking at the whole.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Well, I'll get there. Yeah. That's
I
okay.
didn't have a whole stack of.
It's okay. I'm at 34. Yeah. Yeah. I do see that, but that's the same thing that I said before. That's the budget document that the budget committee works off of and they present to the city council and the city council approves it. That doesn't necessarily account with the actual money that goes into that fund because you don't know how much gas tax money you're getting.
Yes, we do know how much gas tax we're getting.
Okay.
Um,
So what you're telling me is what's approved by the city council on the budget is the actual money that you've gotten from the gas tax.
yes,
Okay. Because my experience with the library,
Sorry
since
about
they have a county library taxing base,
hmm
they have a big income, but then they have little ones as people file their tax returns. And so the money that goes in the budget at the beginning of the year never necessarily matches up with the revenue received.
yeah, and that's how the general fund works as well. But this is fund 2, so it's a
Okay.
little bit different.
Yeah, to me, what you're showing me is a budget document. It's not showing a revenue document.
Yeah, and the revenue document is what he showed you, but it's that lump sum of $4 million that's in that whole fund 2.
I
we
won't
just don't-
belabor the point.
Okay, sorry. We can talk offline. I'd love to.
Well, it just is, the pedestrian and bike money is close to my heart because I would really like to see to do some projects. And so it's nice to know for sure exactly how much money we're getting and exactly where it's going. So that's all.
Okay.
I won't harass you anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other additional commissioner questions or comments regarding the quarterly budget status? Which is why, as we've been discussing funding and funding our parks, is so important. Greg, were you going to have an update for us on the foundation stuff, or are we going to?
Yeah, I have it written up right here.
All right.
There's actually a couple things that I was just gonna wait for staff's comments, but we're here. So if I can maybe have just a
Yes.
couple moments of time. So the foundation, after our work session on the 6th, I talked to the city manager on the 7th. I don't know why she went home so early that day.
She had a headache.
But I did speak with her regarding the creation of a foundation. And she said that there, from a city standpoint, there's no reservations as long as the foundation is created within the compliance of the rules. So no issues with the creation of a privately creation of a privately funded foundation.
Right. And henceforth, there's no issues. We do not necessarily need to take a vote on it because we don't have control over it, because it would be a symbiotic relationship, but not a
It
control
would be.
relationship.
It would not be a Parks Commission decision. It would not be a city decision.
Yeah, if the city manager said, I don't want them to form a foundation, but there were 2 or 3 people that wanted to form a foundation, they could just go ahead and do it.
Sure.
Because they don't even need the city's approval, much less ours.
Right.
But you wouldn't want to do that, because the only way it would work well is if it has a good relationship with the city and the Parks Commission.
Mhm.
So that, they could work hand in hand the city and the commission couldn't be involved in necessarily raising the money, but would be hand in hand and making sure the money is dispersed to worthwhile projects. So,
Because
yeah,
we can spend them.
yeah, you can spend the money. That's right. So,
So so
Okay.
great idea. Thank you. And
Yeah.
move forward and prosper. The second thing is that at the March 18th council meeting, topic of bike racks inside the parks or at the parks was discussed at the council meeting. I checked with staff. We have no bike racks at any of our parks. So I think somebody would like to have, this person that made comments, they suggested that we have bike racks at our parks, understanding budget constraints. And would the commission like to have this as a future topic for an agenda item? And then also understanding that the city is currently looking at a TGM grant for a comprehensive bike and pedestrian plan. Would the commission like us to pursue or include in that plan the addition of bike racks into our parks?
Harv?
Yeah. And I might add that we're pursuing, again, we've had funds earn a grant for bike racks with CBDA, and quite honestly, we're looking at redoing that. The high school has done much of the work for us in terms of producing those. They're looking at a potential new design, so I think the resources may be there to pursue it, if not from the city standpoint, but from CBDA.
Kurt?
I think it's a really good idea for bike racks in parks, because
Yeah.
you're talking kids.
Yeah.
And kids ride their bikes. And so I think it's a good thing. I saw the bike racks down at the new parking place down here in town, that parking lot that was input. And they're like the ones down by the visitor center, and they're beautiful and they're nice, but they may not be well served for locking bikes up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will use a kind of a hoopy looking bike lock, and they won't fit around those things very well. So, and I think you also have to consider a lot of people ride electric bikes now and they tend to have fairly wide wheels. So, and tires. So whatever kind of design needs to accommodate those as well. So it's a great idea. Appreciate the high school working on it, but we probably need a design that's a little bit more functional than the one
Yeah,
we've got.
and to be honest, they are also working on a design. The class has been turned loose to do a design work, so they understand what
It-
they produced looks great. Historically, it's back to the pre-thing, but they understand in terms of the practicality. It's not getting the job done, and they're very amenable to a new design.
It would be fun to have the students present to Parks their design ideas. That way they get their, their credits for presenting in front of people, which is
Yeah.
terrible and everybody hates doing, but we
Yeah.
force it upon the students.
I'm sure they'd be happy to do it.
Just as an
Yeah.
information so that we know.
Absolutely.
But in relation to Greg, your question, my answer always is wait until we have a plan, a master plan completed before we place anything anywhere, so we don't have to keep moving stuff. So that is always my recommendation, especially if we get the grant for the TSP, so that we can do a comprehensive look at our entire city, our bike and ped multimodal plan, so that we can look at everything and have a consensus on moving forward.
And I think location is really important. Bike racks that are sort of behind a bush or behind a building, there tends to be a lot of bike theft there. So I think having input one on the design of the rack, because I use a U-lock and it's just not functional on those big racks. And then as far as where someone would feel comfortable locking their bike up, it'd be great if students made them, and a lot of effort would go into it, but if they get put somewhere where nobody would want to lock their bike up anyway, that would be sad.
They have some of those at Marshfield in spots that they've already been vandalized. They just cut them and take the bikes out. Right.
So do we want to have this as a future agenda item, or would you like us to go ahead and pursue it in the grant?
I'd like to pursue it in the grant. That's one opinion. But I would, because as all things take process and time and energy and effort, during that time, as we're pursuing the transportation grant, it'd be nice to have the students come in and let us know what they're working on. Not that we necessarily can decide what grade they get, but we can have an idea and provide input from people that are utilizing the services. So that would be fun for us, not for them, but for them to come present to us.
Okay.
Okay.
And then one last thing, I think it was Monday this week. I think it was Monday. Was it Monday this week that we received the SRTS plan? Monday this week, we received the Alta plan for the Safe Routes to School, the design plan draft. My question to the commission is, understanding that this commission met at a work session with the project management team to create what we would like to see in the plan. They've delivered the draft plan to the city or to the PMT project management team. Does this body want to see the draft plan, or is the PMT reviewing it, understanding the desires of the commission as it was laid out at the work session? Can the project management team discern the desire of the commission to make sure that those desires are met in the plan, and go ahead and provide comment back to Alta Planning without more review from this commission?
Does it delay the timeline if we review it at our next work session?
It could potentially, they want to have a meeting to allow us to, our review, and they want to have a meeting with our review comments.
Could we just be invited to the PMT?
Well, we do have a PMT. I think Jamie's on the project management team. Barbara's on the project management team. We do have it. I mean, you can definitely come to the teams meeting.
Mhm.
We can make sure that the Parks Commission is invited to that, but we're just gonna be discussing the plan, but yes, we can make sure that the Parks Commission members are part of that invitation.
Jamie? you- Kirk?
I would like to see it.
Mhm.
And, you know, if we don't run afoul of too many parks commissioners in the same room, going to the project, management teams meeting would be fine. The only reason I want to see it is, again, I think the project management team did a good job. But when we looked at it and talked about it and went through what we liked and didn't like when we had that joint meeting, there were, I think, one or two new ideas that came up. You know, Jennifer, who doesn't like her name being mentioned, came up with that great idea that, well, you know, it's like the insurance commercial. Just bundle all those things by the high school, right? And it was a great idea. And, you know, I hadn't thought about it. And I'm sure the project management team probably hadn't thought about it. And so I think it's important to have a bunch of different views and stuff. So, you know, if it means we can go to a project management team meeting and that's not a problem, I'm okay with that. I do get a little bit upset with them sometimes though, because, you know, when we looked at this, the people that are doing the plan, when we looked at this last time, there's the whole thing about had to be in by a certain amount of time, had to be in by a certain amount of time, and we got it in. And then how long has transpired since we got it in when it was such an emergency rush for them to get it? So just saying.
Yeah, and that might have been to coincide with their schedule to get it delivered to us in a timely fashion. Because we do have another grant window opening up for actual construction of the plan. And I'm not sure what that grant window is right now. I'm hoping to find that out in the next meeting. But I just don't want to know, I just don't want to delay getting that grant,
Right.
construction grant. I want to get that construction grant.
When can we meet?
They have a doodle poll
Mm.
thing. So we can, once we land on that, we can forward the invitation to the Parks Commission members.
As long as we sit silently and don't vote.
Coming up to the podium. Help me out. You've been on the commission. I am concerned about all of you guys being on the PMT. And so maybe what we just need to do is talk to Trevor and just see what the implications are if we push this to a work session. Understanding that they want interest.
Well, can't we call an emergency park session too? What are the rules on that?
You just have to give notice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we could just, you could just have an online emergency park session. That meets the criteria. That all we discuss is the SRT.
Yeah, so I can forward you the members, the draft. I think it's 119 pages. So I can forward that to you folks
Yeah, and
tomorrow.
send us a quick doodle that just says that meets the announcement criteria. And then we'll pick a date that meets the timeline. And then we'll just do it online so that it's easier.
I was just smiling because was the original one that long? And I thought we narrowed down to a couple of plans and it got bigger.
There's a lot of information in there. A lot of stuff. I don't know necessarily if you need to review all 119 pages. But I think there's some meat and potatoes that I definitely think you should focus on.
Yeah.
A lot of salad and sides that probably don't need to be focused on.
Maybe the carrot.
Maybe the carrots, but
Anything that we can dangle out in front of the grant committee that can get us the rest of the project done. All right. Great solutions. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, because I agree, Kurt. I would like to look at it since it does have impact on what we're doing. So. Okay, Greg, anything else you want to share? So many good things.
gosh. We talked about bike racks. Tristan talked about that, the fence. We talked about the foundation. No, I'm done.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna roll into future agendas. So we're gonna have an emergency meeting online to recover SRT. Then we're also going to discuss at the work session, the skate park, or we're just gonna have it as an agenda item.
At the work session, my understanding is that you wanted to talk about skateboard fence discussion,
Yes.
repairs and demolition at the work session.
Perfect. We don't have any other agenda items for that work session, so if somebody thinks of one, let us know. And then we'll roll into our standard meetings. Any additional items that the commission would like to see on the meeting? Cricket?
And then just real quick, for the April 17th, we're gonna have, well, for the third, we're gonna have the work session to discuss the skateboard fence discussion, repairs and demo. Do we want to make that also a
Yeah. we want to be
item
able to-
for the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, and then also on the 17th, we have a Adopt the Park pilot program update. That was added on early before you got here, Ariane.
Okay.
And then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled project updates
Okay.
on that meeting as well.
Okay. Perfect. Great.
So unless it was going to be the 3 Cs like Kurt suggested for the foundation, that we're going to go out and make the foundation. One question was whether it would be worth applying for the Roundhouse grant and whether or not Christina can work on that. And obviously it's not due for a while, but they often review them as they come in. So that was still a question that hasn't been discussed or answered or whatever.
I do need to look into that grant a little more. I know that the library has it on their radar as well. So I do need to speak with the library and make coordination with them.
Perfect. But yes, thanks for bringing that back up again. Appreciate that. All right. Any other additional agenda items? No. All right, we're going to roll into commissioner closing comments. Any? No. Jamie?
Yeah, since we had a nice update of the city parks, and there's the partnerships that we have with other people in them and community members, I'd like to bring up the sort of the de facto 50-acre park in East Side, which is Millicoma Marsh Trail. And I don't know if I thanked the city for replacing the culvert, or on behalf of the school district, the culvert that made our project out there more worthwhile. So thank you, Jennifer, Greg, for getting that done. And I know exactly what you mean, Tristan, when it takes one person to spearhead a project. And once that person isn't in the picture, things sort of fall apart. So thank you for being there.
Kurt, I'm pulling up your notes.
I was just gonna say, I get the alerts for the Oregon Pedestrian and Bike Committee that reviews things like that funding project on Front Street. You turned us down the last time, the Dirty Buggers, but their next meeting is March the 26th. And their agenda includes program and applications overview, make funding recommendations to OTC, which I assume is Oregon Transportation something. I doubt it's the thing you're worried about yet, but you can listen to their meetings online. And I've done that before in the past when that last project came up for Front Street. And so I volunteered I'll write it in my calendar to listen to it again on March 26th and see what exactly they say and what their direction is.
Perfect. Thank you. Harv?
I really don't have anything other than from our organization standpoint, we're not that far away from a farmer's market. So to the extent that there's some interest from the commission in terms of either booths or information distribution,
Okay.
be happy to have you.
Awesome. Thank you. I have one more suggestion for our work session. If we could find out on that day what the plans are from either tree board or the city for Arbor Day and or Earth Day. Since then we can get it on our calendar if we plan on doing anything.
Yeah, I was
because-
gonna bring that to the next, commission meeting.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely, we can definitely talk about that at the, work session. Sorry,
Okay, perfect.
it's getting late in the day
It is.
for that
It's-
one thing that we're gonna do on that one day.
We're almost there. We're almost there. And then who's in charge of maintenance for the visitor center?
Maintenance, it depends on what the maintenance is.
The grass growing out of the gutters,
Out of what?
the grass growing out of the gutters on the roof.
Well, we could talk about that later.
Okay,
No, I'm just joking. Probably, it'll be the city staff, I'm sure.
okay. It's about a foot tall.
Is it?
Yep.
Got a more roofs, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I just didn't notice it, but I had a client point it out to me. So I thought, oh, well, I bring it up.
Is it North Bend's Visitor Center?
Charleston's.
Sequestration.
It is. It's next to the solar panels, so it's a balance. It is filtering the water.
We are going green.
It's stormwater drainage, filtration.
I have one more comment.
Mm.
Well, I have a comment. Kurt, thank you for going online and doing your public meeting law training. This is an official for the rest of the commission. Or a gentle reminder. One of the two. You take it for what it's worth. If you can please find time to do the required training, I appreciate it. This is the note that was not produced by Greg. It was given to Greg.
Okay,
So
thank you. Appreciate that.
I was given my marching orders and I followed it.
Any other staff closing comments? No? Yeah, we're good. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, Carmen is here.
Oh, I can't see. Carmen, are you online? And
I am.
do you have any closing comments or
I
comments?
don't. Well, I guess just real quickly to say thank you to Tristan for bringing up or bringing the focus of the skate park to us, and I had a lot of questions about that, and I'm really hoping that we can kind of decide a nice vision here in the upcoming work session. So I just want to say thank you to him for pulling that into focus for us all, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carmen.
And also, welcome to the new Parks Commissioners. And I apologize for not being present in person, but really excited to have you both on the commission.
Awesome. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to our community members who, without you, we would not have the services that we have. So we appreciate that. And we are adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.